It's time to wake you up to the reality on some popular sleep myths floating around in our dreams. We are joined this morning by Andrew Holmes of Sleep Efficiency. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning.
I, for one, am very curious about some of this because I feel that when it comes to sleep, we all have our ideas of what is a good night's sleep and how to get one, but there are some things we just may not know.
For sure. Prior to like 1980s, there wasn't a lot of information out there. We knew that sleep was something that we had to do. It wasn't voluntary. We didn't really understand the functionality. Fast forward to the age of the internet and Google, you can do a quick search and you get a ton of information. Some of that information, depending on the source, may not be factually accurate. So what we're going to do today is talk about some of those myths that are potentially still floating around, and maybe put them to bed.
And you're going to let us know. Very clever.
Very clever.
Waking up sleep myths. Okay, let's start with the first one. As we get older, we need less sleep. I would say true?
No, this is a myth. So as we get older, it's not as though we need less sleep, it's our ability to maintain sleep becomes the issue. So as we age, there's something that shifts in what we call our sleep architecture. Our sleep architecture is essentially the amount of time that we spend in each sleep stage. So as we get older, we spend more time in the lighter stages of sleep and less time in the deeper stages of sleep. Therefore, our ability to maintain sleep becomes more and more difficult. We're more easily aroused from sleep. So we don't need less sleep, it's that our ability to get it in larger blocks is the problem. Therefore, why we see so many of the older population taking naps in the afternoon, because they do need that 7, 8, 9 hours that's required.
Okay, so they're making up for it at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, stay in bed if you wake up overnight. This one, I really need to know. I tend to wake up a lot. I'll get to sleep for about 3 hours and then I might wake up around 11 or 12. Do I stay in bed?
So that's kind of a good point here. So we want to look at it from a couple different angles or areas. A lot of research will show if you're in bed after 15 or 20 minutes, you know, for the first 15 or 20 minutes, if you're actually still awake and unable to go back to sleep, you know, people will think of relaxing imagery or counting sheep. If that's not working, a lot of the research will show actually get out of bed, move to another room, and engage in kind of a relaxing activity, maybe some reading, listening to some soft music. Make sure the lights are really still down low. Avoid looking at the clock because all of a sudden you can spiral downward there like, oh my goodness, I've only got 4 hours left, 3 hours of sleep left. So again, 15, 20 minutes, remain in the bed, try and fall back asleep. If it's chronic, it can also be a sign of insomnia. Okay. A lot of people think insomnia is just simply not being able to fall asleep, but it's actually the inability to maintain sleep as well after you've already fallen.
Yeah, waking up after you've been sleeping. Okay, no harm in a nightcap.
A lot of people use this technique. It allows them to relax and unwind after a long day. Again, a lot of research shows while it does allow them to fall asleep easier, it impacts your overall quality of sleep throughout the course of the night. Alcohol can suppress our REM sleep. Our REM sleep is our dream sleep, and that serves to kind of help our cognitive restoration. Our mental horsepower is really kind of revitalized during the stage of sleep. So if we're not getting as much REM sleep as we should be because of alcohol that's suppressing it, you're not going to be sharp for the next day to be able to battle all the things that you need to from a cognitive kind of perspective.
Makes sense. Okay, never wake a sleepwalker. I was a sleepwalker when I was a child.
Yeah, I actually have 2 boys and one of them was the same.
Yeah.
So 15% of the population are sleepwalkers. Most of them
15%?
15, 1-5, yeah.
Wow.
But most of them are children, right? So, and that tends to blow out by ages 7, 8, or 9. So there is a myth here that you should never wake one. Again, looking at it from a couple different perspectives, what you want to make sure is the person doesn't harm themselves, or you don't want a physical response to them should you wake them. You don't want to shake them abruptly. Yeah. So the technique here would be to kind of guide them back to the bedroom in a kind of a gentle fashion. You don't want a physical response where they start lashing out because they're unfamiliar of what's actually happening. So again, you want to kind of guide them back, but not actually wake them if possible.
Okay, and finally, snoring is harmless. Not in my household. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, so snoring, it can be harmless. It can be simply benign. It can be irritating to the partner that you're actually sleeping with. That can be problematic. Yeah. But snoring is also a sign of sleep apnea. Snoring is essentially the muscle tissues in the upper airway that are causing vibrations. Those vibrations become the characteristic sound of snoring. And if the snoring is becoming more and more chronic, it's becoming louder and louder, again, sleep apnea can be present there. So what you'd want to do is investigate that to see if it's something more. Sleep apnea is essentially pauses in our breathing.
Right.
It can increase our cardiovascular risk, excessive daytime fatigue. So our company, Sleep Efficiency, offers take-home sleep tests. People can do that from the comfort of their own bed. So again, it can be harmless. It can be just irritating to the other person, but we want to make sure that it is simply just benign.
Just that. Okay, Andrew, thank you so much. I think one thing we can all agree on is we all could probably use a little bit more sleep.
For sure.